So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about this idea of technology driving workplace efficiency and whether that's really being efficient or whether it's more about overload. We're also going to talk about employee privacy and this idea that is it just technology that's kind of driving this idea of intrusion on privacy, or has it always been an issue? Then we'll talk about work-life balance. We'll talk about the flexibility that it offers you. Some of your companies may offer work from home arrangements, and I know for myself, work from home means that work is always there. My desk is right there. I pass it on the way to the TV, so. And so I think we have one other, multitasking. And we're going to talk a little bit about multitasking and this idea that can we really multitask? Is that something that's really possible? Are we effective as multitaskers? Or is it just that technology is facilitating the ability to distract our attention? So when we talk about, maybe just to tee things up, Pat, when we talk about privacy in the workplace, just quickly, I mean, do you feel like technology is really facilitating this intrusion, or has that always been something that employers have had an interest in?
Well, I think it depends on who you talk with and the individual circumstance, but yes, to a degree, employers have always had somewhat of an interest in it. Do we want to talk about 100 years ago now, or?
Well, generally, sure. What would you say would have been a trend 100 years ago versus today?
Well, I mean, I found interesting that we all think of surveillance of being something very new, right? With technology, it's technology driven. So it started with cameras in the workplace, and then listening devices. Now it's going into embedding chips in your arm and Fitbits and all the like. But interestingly, more than 100 years ago, the Ford Motor Company had this unit called the Sociological Department, where several hundred employees, agents of the Ford Motor Company, would go out at night and knock on employees' doors. And you'd answer the door, and they'd come in, and they'd see how you were living, see how your children were dressed, what were they eating, how clean is your household, is there drink around the house, are you going to church, right? That would be pretty intrusive today, I would think, right? If any one of us got a knock on the door, and I don't think we would be letting them in. But in a way, are we letting them in today when employers can look at our Facebook posts and our Twitter posts and know where we are because we have our phones with them? So it's a balance, I think, and as technology progresses, the intrusiveness becomes more and more of an issue.
We have this idea of scope creep, and that's that work-life balance, right, Laura? And is that something where I could say, okay, I've got everything done today because I'm so efficient, I'm going to go home at 3 o'clock?
Well, maybe not. One of the interesting things about the scope creep idea of adding new roles and responsibilities to existing jobs is that, okay, technology allows us to do that. We can eliminate this troublesome task and replace it with technology. Here's an example. We're working on implementing a digital receptionist in our office. Basically, it's an iPad with a virtual check-in. Awesome, fantastic. Well, here's one question. Who are we taking that away from? We don't have a living, breathing receptionist right now, but if we did, hi, your job's gone. It's something to think about.
Right, it is, and there's this idea of technology replacing humans for work parts of jobs that are very manual or repetitive, right? I mean, it makes sense and it may not even be a part of our jobs that we appreciate, but does that mean, and there was a study done by McKinsey where they said that eventually 45% of most jobs could be eliminated through the use of artificial intelligence, robotics, and through technology.
And one of the things that's
yeah.
interesting about that is you think about from a user experience standpoint. I don't know about the rest of you, but when you call and you get the automated, please say what you'd like. Please try to say that a different way. Please press 1. And you get put into this perpetual loop. That's an example of a virtual receptionist. And so although it creates efficiencies maybe for one workplace, you have to think about it from the other side. That person or company that's on the receiving end of it is what is the impact on their experience and how does that impact their perception of the business that they're trying to
So
reach?
to move things along, we're going to go, some of these headlines are pretty amazing. And when you look at them, I'm not going to go through all of them, but Pat mentioned the chip technology. And I read about this where although it enables certain things like swiping into a door by just having the chip and holding the door, and then the door opens and you go in, or you can log into your computer by just touching your mouse pad kind of thing. Great. But Pat, what else happens when the employer gets access to you and your vitals?
That's the question. What else does happen?
Right,
What do they do with the information?
right.
How do they use it? If they give you a Fitbit for a gift to encourage exercise, are they checking how much you exercise
Right.
or where you might go?
Yeah.
There's always a give and take with things like this.
There is, and there's actually I read about a company in China that actually is monitoring when their employees are getting too stressed out. And then if they are, and they see a trend on this stress level for certain jobs, they move them to another job. Okay, Bill, look, we're seeing some spikes on the KPI chart. You're going from production line over to accounting. Oh, not to say accounting's not stressful, sorry.
I'm sure, getting shifted from job to job is not stressful at all.
Exactly. So we covered these sort of the now and then, and I just want Pat maybe will comment a little bit more on the now and then. This is interesting. This is I don't know how old this video is. It sounds as old as the pictures, but it is proof of what Ford was doing. Let me see if I can get this to work. And Laura, what have you seen in this as a new mom, especially in trying to balance what you need to do at home and at work? How's that going?
It's going. Little kids are fun, and they're crazy. But yeah, one of the interesting things about moms especially, some companies are hesitant to hire moms. Like, oh, they're going to be distracted. They're going to be busy with kids stuff. They won't give it their all. You know what moms are really good at? I'm going to tell you a secret. Listen closely. Getting stuff done. Because when your baby is only sleeping for 30 minutes, you get stuff done. So moms, they're amazing workers. If you don't think they are, rethink your thoughts. So I'll leave you with that for a second. But email keeps coming up. Email. We've talked about it with almost every single topic. Here's my thoughts on email. Don't let it rule you. It is a tool. The way that I handle email and trying to find some sort of balance is I check it and I don't respond. I flag it if I need to reply later. If it is truly urgent, I'll send a response. Otherwise, I keep my inbox zero happening by getting everything read, flag it, I'll do it later. A challenge in our modern society is being present. We're so distracted all the time with this and that and social media and what's happening at work and what's happening at home and what's happening in sports and what's happening in the news and globally. Being present, I think, is what allows you to find balance. When you're at home, focus on being at home. If something's urgent, attend to it, but focus on being at home. When you're at work, focus on your work. Get that stuff done. Be present in what you're doing.